Hi, it's Mr. Ta, and I'm going to give myself 3 minutes to wrap up what you learned in reading this week. This week, you learned about poetry. So, why are we studying poetry anyway? Well, let's give myself 3 minutes so I can explain the whole thing. We study poetry because poetry is the most powerful form of language. You think about it, our language is our superpower as human beings. We're the only people that can do it. We're the only things that can do it on the planet. We can take sounds, make them into words that become images and ideas and emotions. Things we can make people see things, think things, and feel things just based on what we say. In fact, we can even do it based on writing stuff, little squiggles on paper, just to make people see things, think things, feel things. So poetry is the highest form of that. We use the fewest words in the strongest ways to show images, ideas, and emotions. Now, poetry isn't just in poems. When you're looking through your books for poetic language, you don't necessarily have to just read poems. It's everywhere. Why? Because when authors want to show something's important, they write like poets. They will use poetic language to do so. This week, we learned about two techniques, imagery and repetition. Let's start with imagery. That's when you make a picture in someone's head. It's the classic show, don't tell. Here's an example of when we first met Maya in Each Kindness. We all stared at her. Her coat was open, and the clothes beneath it looked old and ragged. Her shoes were spring shoes, not meant for the snow. A strap on one of them had broken. Think about that. You can immediately kind of picture what Maya looks like. Why does Jacqueline Woodson, the author, write it in this way? She wants you to think something about Maya and about the way she looks. Same thing here. Here's another one about Maya. Maya came over to us. She held open her hand to show us the shiny jacks and tiny red balls she'd gotten for her birthday. It's a high bouncer, she said. Again, Jacqueline Woodson is making Maya come over to us and show us the jacks that she got for her birthday. Why does Jacqueline Woodson show us that? I think she wants you to think something and picture what she's like, and she's telling you something about Maya. You know what she's trying to tell you. Repetition, of course, we've talked about before. It's when we repeat something over and over again because we think it's important. Jacqueline Woodson does it over here when she says, each morning I walked to school slowly, hoping this would be the day Maya returned, and she'd look at me and smile. I promised this would be the day. I smiled back. For some reason, that smile seems to be important. Over here, at the end of the story, when she's at the pond, I threw small stones into it over and over, watching the way the water rippled out and away, out and away. Why is she showing that water rippling out and away? Jacqueline Woodson thinks it's important, and she wants you to think it's important too. Good things to write about. So just remember, why did we learn about poetry this week? Because poetry is the most powerful form of language. And I'm done. Until next time, I'm Mr. Ta.